Your kidneys can be failing for years, and you would never feel a thing. That is not an exaggeration. It is the defining feature of kidney disease, and it is why the condition is so dangerous. Roughly 37 million adults in the United States have chronic kidney disease. That is about 1 in 7 people. And of those 37 million, around 90% do not know they have it. 90%. Think about that for a moment. Nearly all of the people walking around with damaged kidneys have no idea because their bodies gave them no clear signal. No pain, no dramatic event, just a slow and silent decline that most people mistake for normal aging. By the time symptoms do become obvious, the kidneys have often lost more than half of their function, and in some cases, they are already close to the point where dialysis or a transplant becomes the only option. But here is the good news, and it is genuinely good. Chronic kidney disease is one of the most detectable and one of the most manageable conditions in modern medicine when it is caught early. 2 simple tests can tell you where your kidneys stand. And the warning signs I'm going to walk you through in this video are the clues that most people dismiss for months or even years. We are going to go through the 5 silent warning signs of failing kidneys after 50, the mechanism behind each one so you understand what your body is actually telling you, and the exact steps you can take right now to protect your kidneys and slow or stop the damage before it becomes permanent. Before we get to the signs, you need to understand what your kidneys actually do because most people have never been told. Your kidneys are 2 fist-sized organs sitting near the middle of your back, and they are the filtration system for your entire blood supply. Every single day, they filter roughly 150 quarts of blood, about 150 liters, removing waste products, excess water, and toxins, and returning the clean blood back to your circulation. They do this through tiny filtering units called nephrons. Each kidney contains about 1 million nephrons, and each one is a microscopic sieve that decides what stays in your blood and what leaves your body as urine. But filtering is only the beginning. Your kidneys regulate the balance of sodium, potassium, and other electrolytes that keep your heart beating in rhythm. They produce a hormone called erythropoietin that tells your bone marrow to make red blood cells. They activate vitamin D so your body can absorb calcium and keep your bones strong. And they play a central role in controlling your blood pressure through a system called the renin-angiotensin system. When your blood pressure drops, your kidneys release renin, which triggers a cascade that raises it back up. Your kidneys are essentially the master regulators of your internal environment. Now here's the problem. The kidneys have an enormous amount of reserve capacity. You can lose half of your nephrons and still maintain relatively normal blood tests because the remaining nephrons work harder to compensate. This is called hyperfiltration, and it is the reason kidney disease is so silent. The damage happens quietly, 1 nephron at a time, while the healthy nephrons pick up the slack. By the time the filtration rate drops low enough to show up clearly in routine blood work, a large portion of the damage is already done. And after 50, this matters more than ever, because the 2 leading causes of kidney damage, diabetes and high blood pressure, have usually been quietly working on your kidneys for decades by that point. Together, diabetes and high blood pressure account for roughly 2/3 of all chronic kidney disease cases. Add in the natural age-related decline in kidney function, the widespread use of pain medications that stress the kidneys, and the fact that most people never get their kidneys checked, and you have a perfect recipe for a silent epidemic. So let us get into the 5 warning signs. If you recognize even one of them, it is worth getting checked. The first warning sign is swelling, and it is the one most people misinterpret. If your ankles, feet, or hands start swelling, or you wake up with puffiness around your eyes, the natural instinct is to blame the heat, or the salt you ate, or simply getting older. But swelling that appears regularly is your kidneys telling you they are struggling to remove fluid. Here is the mechanism. When your kidneys lose function, they become less efficient at excreting sodium and water. That excess fluid has to go somewhere, and gravity pulls it down into your ankles and feet over the course of the day. This is why the swelling is often worse in the evening and better in the morning, until you start noticing puffiness in the face as well. There is a second mechanism that makes swelling even more significant, and that is protein loss. Healthy kidneys keep protein in your blood. Damaged filters allow a protein called albumin to leak through into your urine. Protein in the blood acts like a sponge, holding fluid inside your blood vessels. When you lose protein through your urine, that sponge effect is lost, and fluid leaks out of the blood vessels into your tissues, which causes swelling that has nothing to do with salt. The practical way to check this at home is simple. Press your finger into the swollen area for a few seconds and release. If the indentation stays for several seconds before slowly filling back in, that is called pitting edema, and it is a signal worth taking seriously. Also pay attention to your socks and shoes. If they start leaving deep marks, if rings feel tighter by evening, if you are gaining a pound or two of fluid weight without any obvious cause, that is your body accumulating fluid, and it is a reason to have a conversation with your doctor. The second warning sign is in the toilet, and it is the sign people are most embarrassed to talk about, so they ignore it. Foamy or bubbly urine. Now, everyone produces some froth when urine hits the water, and a little bit of foam that disappears quickly is completely normal. The sign to worry about is urine that consistently looks like the foam on top of a freshly poured beer, with small bubbles that persist for a long time and do not break down easily. That persistent foam is protein in your urine, specifically albumin, and it is one of the earliest and most reliable markers of kidney damage. The mechanism is straightforward. Your kidney filters are built to keep large molecules like protein in the blood. When the filters are damaged, protein slips through into the urine, and protein changes the surface tension of urine, which is exactly what creates that thick, persistent foam. Doctors actually test for this with something called a urine albumin test, and it is one of the most sensitive early indicators of kidney disease, often showing damage long before blood tests change. There are two other toilet-related changes that deserve attention. The first is blood in the urine, which can appear pink, red, or the color of cola. Even a single episode of visible blood should never be ignored, and it warrants a prompt appointment. The second change is in frequency, especially waking up repeatedly during the night to urinate. Now, waking up once to use the bathroom is common as we age, but if you are waking up 2, 3, or more times every night, and the pattern is relatively new, it can indicate that your kidneys are no longer concentrating urine properly during the night. Damaged kidneys cannot reabsorb water efficiently, so instead of producing less urine while you sleep, they keep producing dilute urine, which fills your bladder and wakes you up. If you notice persistent foam, any blood, or a new pattern of nighttime urination, do not wait for it to go away on its own. These are exactly the clues that catch kidney disease early. The third warning sign is fatigue, but not the ordinary tiredness you might expect. This is a specific kind of exhaustion that does not improve with rest, combined with a vague sense of mental fog, difficulty concentrating, and sometimes feeling cold or short of breath with minimal effort. The reason this happens connects directly to something I mentioned earlier. Your kidneys produce erythropoietin, the hormone that tells your bone marrow to make red blood cells. Red blood cells carry oxygen to every tissue in your body. As kidney function declines, erythropoietin production drops, red blood cell production falls, and you develop what is called anemia of chronic kidney disease. With less oxygen reaching your muscles and your brain, you feel drained, weak, and foggy, not because you are lazy or out of shape, but because your body literally has less oxygen carrying capacity than it should. This is why the fatigue of kidney disease feels different from normal tiredness. Normal tiredness responds to a good night of sleep. This fatigue persists no matter how much rest you get, because the problem is not sleep debt, it is oxygen delivery. There is also a second contributor. As kidney function declines, waste products like urea begin to accumulate in the blood. That buildup, which doctors call uremia, directly affects brain function, appetite, and energy levels. It is a chemical haze that sits over everything. So if you have been feeling inexplicably run down for months, if your thinking feels slower, if you need to catch your breath doing things that used to be easy, and especially if this is happening alongside any of the other signs in this video, do not just accept it as aging. Ask your doctor to check your kidneys and your blood count. A simple blood test can tell you whether anemia is present and whether your kidneys are the reason. The fourth warning sign is one of the strangest, and for that reason, it is almost always dismissed. Unexplained itchy skin and a metallic taste in the mouth, sometimes with a change in appetite, and a strong distaste for foods you used to enjoy, particularly meat. This combination sounds bizarre, which is exactly why so many people never connect it to their kidneys. But the mechanism is completely logical. When your kidneys cannot filter waste products out of your blood, those wastes accumulate. One of the major waste products is urea, and when urea levels climb high enough, it begins to deposit in your skin through your sweat glands. Urea crystals are irritating, and they trigger the itching, which is often worse at night and can be severe enough to disrupt sleep. Itching from kidney disease typically affects the back, the arms, and the legs, and it does not improve with moisturizer the way dry skin does. The metallic taste is caused by the same waste buildup. Urea and other compounds accumulate in your saliva and your breath, which creates a metallic or ammonia-like taste, and it also suppresses your appetite. Many people describe this as a general loss of interest in food, or a strange aversion to protein-rich foods specifically. Over time, this can lead to unintended weight loss, which is another reason the whole picture is worth taking seriously. Now, itchy skin and a funny taste in the mouth are incredibly common symptoms with many causes, from allergies to dry air to medication side effects. Most of the time, they mean nothing serious. But when these symptoms appear together, and especially when they appear alongside swelling, fatigue, or changes in urination, they become meaningful. The combination is what matters. That pattern of multiple mild symptoms pointing in the same direction is exactly what catches early kidney disease, and it is why I always encourage people to mention every symptom to their doctor, not just the ones that seem important. The fifth warning sign is blood pressure that will not come down no matter what you do. This is the sign that hides in plain sight because high blood pressure is so common that it is easy to treat it as its own problem and never ask why it started. But your kidneys and your blood pressure are locked in a two-way relationship. Damaged kidneys have trouble excreting sodium, which raises blood volume and drives blood pressure up. They also overactivate the renin-angiotensin system, the hormonal cascade I described earlier, which constricts blood vessels and pushes blood pressure even higher. So kidney damage causes high blood pressure, and high blood pressure causes more kidney damage in a vicious cycle that feeds on itself. This is why doctors treat blood pressure so aggressively in people with kidney disease, and why suddenly difficult to control blood pressure, or blood pressure that was well controlled for years and then starts climbing despite the same medications, is a classic clue that the kidneys may be involved. If you have been managing your blood pressure with diet, exercise, and medication, and the numbers are creeping up anyway, or if you needed to add a second or third medication over the past few years, it is worth asking your doctor directly whether your kidneys have been checked. Many people are surprised to learn that their blood pressure medication is also kidney protective, which is one of the reasons the conversation matters. The same medications that lower blood pressure, particularly a class called ACE inhibitors and angiotensin receptor blockers, also reduce the pressure inside the kidney filters and slow kidney damage. Getting your blood pressure under control is one of the single most powerful things you can do for your kidneys, and it is entirely within your control. Now let me address the elephant in the room because it connects directly to the audience of this channel, and it is one of the most counterintuitive dangers in all of medicine. The over-the-counter pain reliever that millions of people over 50 take every single day for joint pain, back pain, headaches can quietly damage your kidneys. These are the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like ibuprofen and naproxen. They work by blocking inflammatory enzymes, but those same enzymes are needed by your kidneys to maintain blood flow to the filtering units. When you take these drugs regularly, especially at high doses, or when you take them while dehydrated, or when you take them alongside blood pressure medications and water pills, The combination can stress the kidneys significantly, and in some cases, cause acute injury or accelerate chronic damage. This is not about the occasional pill after a long hike. It is about daily, habitual use, the kind that becomes automatic for chronic pain, which is exactly the pattern common after 50. If you rely on these medications regularly, please have that conversation with your doctor about the underlying cause of your pain and safer long-term options. Your kidneys will thank you, and so will the rest of your body. This is one of those places where the standard advice, just take an anti-inflammatory, is quietly incomplete, and knowing the full picture is the whole point of this channel. So let me bring all of this together into a clear action plan, because there is real power in knowing your numbers. The single most important step is to get tested, and the good news is that it is simple, cheap, and routine. 2 tests give you the full picture. A blood test measures your creatinine level, and from that your doctor calculates your estimated glomerular filtration rate, which is a percentage-based measure of how well your kidneys are filtering. A urine test measures albumin, the protein that leaks when filters are damaged. Together, these 2 tests can detect kidney disease years before symptoms would ever appear, and they are recommended annually for anyone with diabetes, high blood pressure, or a family history of kidney disease, and they are worth having even if you have none of those risk factors. The rest of the plan is about protecting the kidneys you have. If you have diabetes, work with your doctor to keep your blood sugar in a healthy range, because diabetes is the leading cause of kidney failure, and the damage is directly related to how well glucose is controlled. If you have high blood pressure, take it seriously and take your medications as prescribed, because controlling blood pressure is the single most protective thing you can do for your kidneys. Stay well hydrated with water throughout the day, and limit processed foods that are heavy in sodium, because excess sodium forces your kidneys to work harder. Be thoughtful about pain medications, as we just discussed, and never combine multiple pain relievers. Keep your weight in a healthy range because excess weight raises blood pressure and increases the risk of diabetes, both of which tax the kidneys. And if you smoke, quitting is one of the most direct gifts you can give your kidneys, because smoking damages the small blood vessels throughout your body, including the ones inside your kidneys. Here is the timeline that should give you genuine hope. Chronic kidney disease is staged from 1 to 5, and in the early stages, which are the most common, progression can often be slowed dramatically, sometimes halted entirely, with the right combination of blood pressure control, blood sugar control, and lifestyle changes. People are diagnosed with early kidney disease and live full, active lives for decades without ever needing dialysis. The difference between that outcome and the alternative is almost entirely about early detection. The kidneys are remarkable organs. They are resilient, they compensate quietly, and they can keep you healthy for a very long time if you catch the problems early enough. The 5 warning signs we covered today, swelling, foamy urine or changes in urination, persistent fatigue, itchy skin with a metallic taste, and blood pressure that will not cooperate, are your body's way of asking for attention. If you recognize any of them, do not wait. Do not rationalize and do not blame aging. Have the conversation with your doctor, get the 2 simple tests, and take control of the one organ system in your body that almost never complains until it is urgent. Your future self, years from now, will be grateful you did. Stay consistent, and we will see you in the next one.